If you've never been to Venetian Gardens, you are missing out. Venetian Gardens is located just south of downtown Leesburg and has many recreational opportunities. Today, Assistant Director of Parks, Jennifer Magavro, is here to tell us all about it. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thanks, Claudia.
This is such a beautiful setting. Where exactly on Lake Harris are we?
The cove, which is behind us here, that's Venetian Cove, is right at the northern part of the lake, which you know then Main Street is to the north of that. So we're somewhat pinched between Main Street and the rest of Lake Harris.
Venetian Gardens, that's such an unusual name. Can you tell us where that came from?
Yeah, definitely. This park has a pretty interesting history. One of the great parts of my job is working with the Heritage Society at the museum. So I've been privy to some of the stories that they have written about how this came to be. Apparently back in the 20s, this whole basin was pretty much all just sawgrass, just marshy, and it was, I guess, really infested with mosquitoes, because every account I've read talks about these huge mosquitoes. So in an attempt to alleviate the mosquito issue and to develop more of a waterfront aspect to the city, one of the city commissioners, his name was Henry Wiley, him and a couple of his friends had an old dredge that they brought in, and they did, for the most part, just a lot of the clearing of the basin. They're not real direct on how much of it he cleared, but he cleared the better part of it, and then later on the city took the project on and hired another contractor to come in and clear the bulk of it. And they were really on a roll, you know, getting it formed up and getting it cleared out and drained off and having a good, you know, yacht basin here, but then the Depression hit. And you know, with that, there's just not a lot of funding for stuff like that. So the park started to get really overrun with weeds, these big massive piles of muck that had been dredged up. Well, part of the World War II effort in the Depression, President Roosevelt came up with these WPA projects where the federal government put money towards these feel-good projects throughout the country, and Leesburg was the recipient of one of them. So as part of this WPA project, it kind of took up where that previous dredging had left off. They came in, they hired a pretty renowned landscape architect to come in, and he came up with the whole Venetian theme, developed with the bridges and having the islands and the canals, much like Venice, giving it Venetian Gardens. That's why it's got that really cool aspect with its own islands and the bridges interconnecting them, is to kind of replicate a Venetian feel.
That is really interesting and way cool when you think about it.
Yeah.
So what is there to do in the park?
Oh, there's so much to do. I mean, it's a 60-plus acre park. So among the passive recreation there's the people who just like to come out and read their book, the people who like to just walk around, people who like to bird watch. We get a lot of them. It's a great place to watch birds, even some wildlife. Then we've got more active recreation with jogging and biking. We have a lot of people who do the geocaching, and that about covers it. Picnicking and all that. So it's pretty unlimited.
I happen to know what geocaching is, but
Do
maybe
ya?
some people
I was
don't
waiting
know.
for you to
So
ask.
why don't we tell everybody what geocaching is?
Geocaching is a group of people, they get these coordinates to find different clues or different little treasures. Some of them are played different ways, but they use the coordinates to locate where this is. They dig it up or unearth it or find it, get their next clue and go on. And it's funny because it's done without us. I mean, the Parks Department isn't involved. They just kind of do it and utilize our park, and they have gotten our permission to do it. But it is pretty cool when you're going around the park and somebody reaches into the bushes and finds this next clue. It's like, what are you doing? I'm geocaching. Okay, just checking.
And what they do is they actually pick up little trinkets or and then they keep them. It's a fun family event.
Oh yeah, they have a ball doing it, and I'm just glad they feel comfortable enough in this park to do it.
Now, you said it was 60,000 square feet?
No, it's 60 plus acres.
Oh, 60 plus acres, I'm sorry. That's a lot of land to cover. How do we maintain that?
It's a lot of mowing. The bulk of the park is turf. Luckily, it's not irrigated. So, you know, during this time of year when it's a little cooler out and or a little drier, you know, the grass slows down. But, you know, it's a lot of mowing. It's taking care of the trees and doing the vegetative control along the shorelines. A lot of monitoring vegetation, keeping it safe for our park participants, getting the trash, On a windy day like today, all the wind coming in off the lake, if it's blowing this way, it's going to blow into the grass. If it's blowing that way, we're getting a lot of the trash blown in from neighborhoods and streetways. So it's a lot of trash patrol because everybody likes their park to be pristine.
Absolutely. And that puts a new perspective on it, because I come to Venetian Gardens and enjoy the beautiful scenery here, but I've never thought about the maintenance and who does it and how much of it there is, because there's a lot that you guys do.
I mean, because we've got the playground as well, Kids Corner. We've got the 2 public restrooms on this side, and then you've got Pat Thomas Stadium, the marina, the swimming pool, the community building. All of that is all part of Venetian Gardens, even Monkey Island.
Monkey Island.
Monkey Island.
Tell me about Monkey Island.
Apparently, it wasn't formed when they did the dredging. From what I've read, a lot of people have told me yes, it was, but from what I've read, the island was pre-existing back when this was all kind of marshy. And the forefathers back in the 20s or 30s, they decided they wanted to put a lighthouse on Monkey Island because, believe it or not, they used the waterway to bring goods into town. Even with all that marsh, there was a clear canal that went all the way up to where Dixie is now, but it was called Dozier then.
Okay.
So we had a lot of, water traffic bringing stuff in. Well, I guess then seaplanes started being the thing as well. They wanted to put a lighthouse on Monkey Island, and the base is there. You can see where the base is built. Apparently, at some point, they rigged a light onto Monkey Island and strung the wire back to shore. Well, one of the seaplanes coming in hit the wire, and luckily nobody was hurt, but it trashed his plane pretty bad, so they took the wire down and kind of abandoned the lighthouse idea.
Just out of curiosity, and you're always so knowledgeable, and I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Do you know why it's called Monkey Island?
No, actually I don't, and no one's been able to tell me.
Really?
Really.
That's interesting. So we have a lot of maintenance, and you also have a lot of construction going on.
We do. We are very fortunate to be getting our bridges replaced. As we speak, actually, they're starting the demolition on the first bridge. It's quite a lengthy process, but we had some funds we could use towards that project, so we jumped on it.
How old were the bridges?
From what I can find from paperwork, about mid-'80s. They had been staggered in their construction. 2 were built this year, then 3 years later these 3 were built, but all right around the 80s.
Okay.
Mid to late 80s.
And what kind of problems were you seeing in them?
They're wood construction, so a lot of the issues you would see with any wood construction in a hot, humid climate on a waterway. With the muck levels in the water, we were seeing the wood piers sinking, which was causing sagging in the bridges. Every year we'd have to go in and try to hoist up part of the bridge to keep it symmetrical. We were having screw heads and nails walk out of the wood, which is just part of the heaving and shrink of the wood. It'll cause those hardware to come up. We're getting splinters in the handrails. The construction is not compatible to the ADA guidelines, for this day and age, so that was an issue too. But a lot of warping, but just wear and tear for the most part.
So will they look the same?
They'll look very similar. Fortunately, we're not using wood. We're going to use a recycled plastic type Trex material, which weathers a little bit better with our humidity and the heat and all the rain we get during the active rainy season. So that's a benefit. Plus, it's a lot more maintenance friendly. We don't have to worry about the shrink swell of the wood, so we won't have to worry about the nails and screws walking out. I believe the piers are now going to be metal piers, and they've actually done did a determination on what depth they need to go to with the depth of the pier to get past that muck level, because it's such a deep muck level, and until you get that solid ground, you always have the potential for it to sink. So, fortunately, it's 2013, and what we know with bridge construction is just that much more advanced. So hopefully, instead of 20 or 30 years we got on these bridges, hopefully with these bridges that we're doing now, maybe we'll get up to 50 years with them.
And they sound like they'll be easier for maintenance too, for
a lot
cleanup.
Easier for cleanup, yes. With the Trex material, it's easier to pressure wash them.
Yeah. So how many bridges do we have in Venetian Gardens?
We have 7 total.
7 total.
And 6 are being replaced. The bridge to MLK Island is actually in such good shape. It's the newest bridge. That one was done somewhere in the 90s. It's in such good shape that we've left that one intact, and it is ADA compliant as well.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So while all this construction's going on, will the park still be open?
It will. What we've done is we've broken the project into two parts. We've broken off this southwestern portion first, and we've got fencing up, and but you know, the whole northeastern portion is still open. So you can utilize that area, and there's a sidewalk along Dixie Avenue which can link you to this side of the park if you're on bike or on foot. So it's not like it's completely closed off. You just won't be able to come all the way over the bridges.
Okay. So the detours will be noted if
Yeah,
there is one.
it's noted on the fenced areas.
Okay. And how long do you think it will take to complete the project?
Our goal, we've had some delays, and construction has started now. Well, actually the demolition phase has started now, and we're hoping to have everything wrapped up before July 4th.
Okay. Do you think that the construction will impact our wildlife?
You know, it's funny, is anywhere else I would say yeah, because you've got humans and loud banging and stuff being torn out. Normally that would affect animals, make them pretty shy or make them scatter. These animals are just so accustomed to people being around. I think they'll be more curious than anything. I could actually envision these guys trying to build these new bridges and having these birds, you know, kind of hanging around. What you doing? You know, you got a sandwich in your pocket? So I don't think it'll bother them at all.
No, they're pretty relentless. I can remember biking one time and it was dusk and getting, you know, I'm a northern girl and hearing
a lot of attention.
Hearing some of the sounds coming from the lake, and I was like, okay, hurry up and fix my flat tire. So I guess they'll stick around, huh?
Yeah.
Speaking of wildlife, do you get people visiting with animals to the park?
We have a lot of people who want to bring their dogs and walk them. Yeah. And it's a great park to do it. It's you know, a beautiful environment, lots of open area to run with them. So we do get a lot of dog walkers.
So it is pet friendly then?
Yes, it is. All of our parks are pet friendly. Now all of them are on leash only, except for the dog park. So that's our big thing is, you know, please bring your dog. Enjoy the park with your dog. Just leave them on a leash while you're here. So, and there's several reasons we do that. You know, I know everybody thinks their dog is great. My dog has good manners. He would never run off, but they do. They can't help it. They see a bird or they see a rabbit and they take off. And, you know, first and foremost, this belongs to the animals, to the birds and all that live here. This is like their home. We're visiting. You wouldn't appreciate somebody chasing you around in your front lawn. So we try to put that in perspective with people. You know, kind of keep that in mind. Your dog's chasing the birds. That's just not very nice. But the other reason is we've just got so much water here. We're surrounded by water. And, you know, with water, you've got alligators.
Right.
And alligators, they like dogs. You know, what's to keep Fido from running into the water and there being an alligator there? It's just not a risk we want.
Right.
Whereas if you've got full control of your dog, you can keep them well away from those shoreline areas.
Okay. Speaking of the alligators and the birds and the and ducks, and I can remember a favorite pastime was taking my kids to the park and feeding the ducks. Do you recommend that?
We get a lot of that. We don't necessarily recommend it, but we know people are going to do it, and we know why. Their intentions are good. They just love being close to animals. We can't help it. We have a fascination, especially with wild animals and the idea of taming them. So, you know, we don't admonish people. We don't ask them not to. The only thing we really ask them not to do is please just don't feed them on the benches, the picnic tables, or in the shelters. Because you feed them there and the next person feeds them there. Well, then I come with my picnic basket and I want to feed myself. I don't want to feed the birds. But all of a sudden, you know, I feel like Cinderella. I've got all these birds and squirrels hanging out on my table looking for a handout. So we just ask if you do it, just stick to non-bench picnic table areas.
Okay. I think a lot of people seen Lake Placid is
Yes.
which brings me to my next question about feeding alligators.
Yeah, that's a definite no-no. It's against the law. It is a felony. But the other thing that people don't understand is, you know, once you start to feed a gator, most gators, like most animals, they have a natural fear of humans at first. Then once you feed them, you're just a big vending machine to them. So when they see another human, whether it's you or me, they think, okay, vending machine, food, and I don't have any food, they come after me. Once they do that, hopefully I'm fast enough they don't get me, but I gotta call and report it to FWC. That animal has to get taken away. And there's no re-releasing him somewhere else, and there's no nice little country farm that takes in mean little gators, they have to put them to sleep. They put them down. So I just wish more people realized when you feed a gator, you've basically given them a death sentence.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
That is really terrible.
And they're such an interesting animal. You'd be shocked at how many people come from up north, and our parks office is based out of the marina. They just want to see an alligator. They love the idea of seeing an alligator, and we love telling them, go out to the park, you'll see them. You know, if people feed them and they have to be removed, that's just that many less gators for the other people to see. We love having them as a part of the park, as long as they're not a nuisance.
Right. Are there any other park rules that you should want the public to know about?
You know, we try not to inundate the public with rules, because we know you want to come out here and you want to enjoy yourself. So we ask people, just use common sense, whatever's logical. You know, if your dog goes to the bathroom, please pick it up. If you generate trash, please put it in a garbage can. If a parks employee comes up to you and asks you to please stop doing something, you know, just understand that is the worst part of a parks employee job. We don't want to police stuff. We want to just be out here beautifying it for you to enjoy. So when we do that, that's like the worst part of our job. You know, just kind of understand that and stop whatever it is that you're doing, or ask why. Why can't I do that? We're more than happy to tell you.
Okay. What would be something that you would approach someone for?
The biggest one I've come up to people with is having the dogs off leash. It's just not acceptable. You know, we've got kids running around, we've got all the animals. You know, I can't have dogs running around. And the thing is too, we had a dog that was running loose here on the point. Ran into the water, a gator came up, luckily it got away, but I had to make the call to FWC to get him trapped, because once he goes after somebody, he's out of here.
Yeah.
And that's an unfortunate part of the job.
And that's a huge responsibility when you think about it from that perspective.
Yeah.
You think you're just feeding a gator to see a gator and how much.
Well, this person just thought I'm just running my dog, I'm just having a good time, dog's having a good time. Well, the dog was a lab, and they love water. I have a lab, they love water.
Yeah.
And he was just doing what, you know, he's a dog, he doesn't know any better. He runs in, it's a gator, she had a nest nearby or whatever, and went after the dog. So it was just an unfortunate circumstance.
Well, this is sure a beautiful park, and there's a lot of stuff to do here. And as always, you're very informative. Thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem.
And we'll see you next time on Leesburg's Parks and Recreation Show.